Bruce Springsteen's Karaoke album, Part 2. Hi, welcome to part 2 of my VC Recommends I Listen from Embryonic Robot, who asked me to go over the album Only the Strong Survive by Bruce Springsteen. Now, I already did part 1, and I showed Embryonic Robot's reaction to the album. And now I'm going to go over the second half of the album, which is tracks 8 through 15. Track number 8 is Hey Western Union Man.
Send a telegram, send a telegram, hey, send a telegram, man with my baby.
Now, to be honest, I think this song is a little bit boring, both versions, although I do prefer the version by Jerry Butler more.
Send a telegram to my baby.
Track number 9 is I Wish It Would Rain.
'Cause raindrops will hide my teardrops, and no one will ever know that I'm crying.
It was originally done by The Temptations. Check out these dance moves. Track 10 is Don't Play That Song. So this is the 4th song from this album to get a video. Now, not in order.
You know that you remember.
And also an appearance on The Tonight Show.
You know that you lie.
So some of the detractors of this album state that the versions aren't different enough. Well, this is one instance where the version is very different than the original.
But baby, you lie. Darling, I love you. Yes, baby, you lie.
The next 2 tracks were originally by William Bell. Number 11 is Any Other Way.
Think that you should go right now, or you might see a grown man cry.
Now look at this beautiful album cover from William Bell's album.
Here you come again.
The 12th song is I Forgot to Be Your Lover. Now this is the second song on the album that is a duet with Sam Moore.
To be your lover in a song.
Let's listen to a snippet from the original and check out that pipe.
Have I done the little simple things to show you?
Track 13 is 7 Rooms of Gloom.
This house is just a place to hide. Just 7 rooms.
Now, when I first heard this song, I originally thought of another song that I know, which is Band of Gold by Frida Payne. But anyways, this song was originally done by the Four Tops.
Your love inside. This house is just a place.
Number 14 is an immensely famous song called What Becomes of the Brokenhearted.
A piece of mind, baby.
Check out this original version by Jimmy Ruffin. And I think the director of this video's green screen skills are about on par with mine. Now, the last track on the album also ends with a really famous song, Someday We'll Be Together, made famous by the Supremes. And in fact, when you listen to Bruce Springsteen's version, the backing vocals really do sound like the Supremes.
Someday we'll be together. Yes, we will.
But instead of listening to the Supremes version, we're going to go back in time a little bit and listen to the original version by Johnny and Jackie. And those are both males.
Someday we'll be together.
Okay, now we come to the hard part. How do we judge this album? You should either change the version so that they're new and the artist brings something unique to them, or you should have such an amazing voice that you're actually improving or singing it in a different way, bringing new inflections and nuances to the song. And Bruce does neither of these. And I do think that the tracks that stand out deserve to be heard. They're good. But is it worth buying the entire album for these couple of tracks? When we look at some aging rockers, like Bob Dylan doing an album of Frank Sinatra, and knowing that they're older and they don't have the voice to pull this off, they could just crawl under a rock and never make albums anymore. Or they could make only material that they've written for personas that would fit their voices, which would work. But no, they decide to step out on a limb a little bit. And even though their voices might not be as powerful as they once were, they decide to do cover versions, which is very risky. This is a lazy album, which was another point. Bruce just slapped it together and put it out without much thought. I really don't think Bruce Springsteen is that type of artist. The final point is that he should have steered clear of the more famous songs, like Night Shift and What Becomes of the Brokenhearted and Someday We'll Be Together. I'm going to agree and disagree. I think he probably wanted to pay tribute to some famous songs, and he wanted his album to have some type of sales appeal. And when you look at 15 tracks and only about 4 of them are known, and even Embryonic Robot stated that he didn't know the majority of these tracks. Well, only putting a couple on that might help it sell, I think that's actually smart marketing. But I also believe it does hurt the album because he does not really improve on these really famous songs. Now, I'm gonna say that I actually like his version of Night Shift just because it's so complimentary to the original. And when I saw him doing it live, I could also see his feeling in the song. And I think that's probably the most important aspect of that song for me, is the genuine feeling that comes through from those lyrics. So what does this album do? I think what it does is it puts into the limelight some songs that I guess many of us have probably never heard before. Not only does it take them out of the soul arena, but puts them into the rock arena so that maybe more people can have appreciation for them. And I think that's part of what a covers album should do, especially for someone who is not in the prime of his or her career. If you take the time to use this as a stepping stone to try to see some of the influences, and then when you read some of the comments that these songs generate, so many people appreciated and loved these songs when they were out and after. And so many of us don't know these songs, especially in the rock arena. Maybe a lot of people who follow soul careers know many more of these songs. But someone like me who doesn't, this album is a genuine encyclopedia of knowledge for me to jump into. There's so much soul out there that if I were to start, of course I could go to a compilation. But then you've got something like this, where Bruce Springsteen goes through some of his songs that inspired him. And now I've got a jumping off point, especially if I'm a younger listener. Researching this album, I came across so many interesting videos from these acts that I would love to take the time to jump in and do more. But again, going back to this album, it's really difficult because I want to love this album just because of what Bruce was doing. But in the end, it's not some of his best work, and he's not going to be remembered for this album. There are some really, really standout tracks on this album, and the other ones allow us to delve deeper into past recordings in the history of music. And I think for an artist like Bruce Springsteen, the influences and what came before is such a very important part of who he is as an artist and a musician. I eagerly await your comments, and again, I thank you for the support.